Okay, hello again. As you can see, my room was slightly darker. I am still wearing the same clothes. I'm making these videos in the same day. I just, you know, there's things like homework and stuff and laundry and unpacking that I have to do. But I do want to make sure you guys get to hear about everything because there are a lot of cool stories. So, here goes part one of Rome. Now, I'm gonna, you know what, let me just start off by showing you a map. This is the all-inclusive map right here. That map shows everything, every place that I've been to. So it includes Florence, it includes Rome, it includes Nettuno, it includes Assisi. Um, as you can see, it's kind of circular. I do end up merging back, what on the way down towards Rome. That's the way we took a train, and then you see it goes across and then back up, and then it kind of merges with the train tracks. But that was actually on our way back up. We went to Assisi on our way back to Gaming. That's how that worked. We did actually, on our train down to Rome, we did actually get to stop in Padua, which for those of you St. Anthony fans, that's where he's from. But, I mean, we didn't get off the train. The train just stopped there. I did get to see it, but I mean, not much. So, anyways, Rome. Let me just say, I love Rome. Rome sweet home. Oh my gosh. The Vatican, obviously, one of my favorite parts. You know what, I have my little list here still, so I think I'm just gonna go down and tell you everything. So the first night we decided, we bought our weekly Metro pass, and the Metro is really great. It takes you all the way through Rome. Everywhere you want to go could go in Rome. This Metro will stop at. So the weekly, if you ever go to Rome, I highly, highly recommend you get a weekly Metro pass because it is just, I mean, it's so easy. It's a hell of a lot easier than using the buses. Let me just say that. I have a story for you about that. But yes, oh my gosh, the Metro is the way to go for Rome. So the first night we decided, well, we have our Metro passes. Why don't we just go? So we heard that they were also having carnivals in Rome, just like I had mentioned in Venice. So we went to see that, and there was, you probably saw from my pictures, a little horse show. That was kind of cool. And so instead of taking the Metro further, like seeing the carnival, getting back on the Metro and going where we want to go, we just decided, well, let's just keep walking. Let's just keep on going. Sure enough, we see signs for the Colosseum, the Pantheon, these tourist attractions that there are in Rome. So we're like, you know what? Let's just keep walking. Let's just see if we can find these places. We walked from, I don't even exactly know the stop, but we walked pretty much from one end of Rome all the way to the Colosseum in about 2.5 hours. That's a lot of walking. We found a building, it looked Greek, it looked like maybe it could be the Pantheon, so we took pictures in front of it. It was dark, it was kind of, you had to go down this kind of sketch alleyway, so I mean, we didn't want to keep going down the sketch alleyway, but it wasn't the Pantheon. We found out later, which was embarrassing, but whatever. So we went there. We just kept walking. We kept seeing signs for the Colosseum, and we found like ancient Roman ruins. Like we experienced a lot of Rome actually in the very first night. But we just kept walking and walking and walking until finally, in the very far distance, we could see the top of the Colosseum. And then we were like on a mission. We were like, we're gonna get to the Colosseum. So after lots and lots of walking, we got to the Colosseum, and luckily there was a metro station, so we took the metro back. And that's when we realized how far we had walked, because there was probably, I mean, between our hotel and the Colosseum, there's probably over 20 metro stops. I mean, it was a long distance. I was impressed that we walked that the very first night, not in a strange city. So, I mean, it was cool. It wasn't just us ladies. Mom, you can stop worrying. We did have Nathan, our Eagle Scout, with us. But, yeah, when you look at it on a map, to think that you walked that far, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that. I would not walk that. But of course, we had no idea how far we were walking. We were just on a mission. So, anyways, highly recommend the Metro. Okay, so the next morning we went to Mass in St. Peter's, and it was amazing. I mean, to just be like, wow, there's St. Peter's chair. He like sat on that, and all the popes that have ever been popes have walked down this way to the altar, and like saints. Think of all the saints that have been here. Like, wow, it's just crazy, and so, anyways, before we went to Mass, the dome of St. Peter's Basilica. You could actually pay only €5. This is like dirt cheap. For the experience that you get, it's like, of course I would pay €5. You get to go up in what's called the cupola, which I'm assuming is just what they call the dome. And so you can see in my pictures, you could be on the inside of the dome looking into the basilica. That was cool. Then you got to go to the very top of the dome, and you could see all of Vatican City, lots of Rome. I mean, it was really cool. So we did that before Mass. It's about like 400 stairs. So, I mean, maybe I wouldn't recommend doing that before Mass because you're dressed in nice clothes and everything. But I mean, I recommend doing it just period if you're going to go. I mean, it was amazing. It was so, so great. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful. So yeah, we got to go to Mass, and then, of course, I mean, gosh, my favorite verse, one of my favorite verses, when we're just talking the Bible in general, this is probably my favorite verse. I have favorite verses, like my favorite verse that's about love, my favorite verse is blah, 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 but just my favorite verse, just in general, is Matthew 16:18. All of you Christians, get out your Bibles, because this is an awesome verse. It is the verse that says, and excuse me if I misquote, I'm going off the top of my head, but it is where Jesus tells Peter that his name is now Peter, and upon that rock he is going to build his church, and the gates of hell will not overcome it. And that is like the ultimate Catholic verse. I mean, it's just like no other church can say that they were instituted by Christ, or that Christ started their church. The Catholic Church was started by Christ, and that is just so great. And you just get such, it's almost like you're, like the Vatican City, you get to be patriotic about your faith. It's so awesome. I mean, it goes beyond that, but even still, it's just so great. It's like Christ, this is what Christ has established, and this is what's been maintained. And Christ, he said the gates of hell will not overcome it, and what do you know, but 2,000 years later, we're still here, and there's still such a following. I mean, the faithful people I saw, the universal church that I got to witness while I was in the Vatican City was just an amazing thing. And, it's just great. Like, Christ promised that the church he established wouldn't be overcome, and it hasn't been overcome. I mean, other branches of Christianity, which I respect you all, my brothers and sisters, but, I mean, they were established by Martin Luther, they were established by Joseph Smith, or they were established by whoever. The Catholic Church was established by Christ, and it's just so, so great. Like, I got to see Pope Benedict, and people are like, oh my gosh, we're standing in front of a successor of Peter. But even more than that, we're standing in front of a successor of Christ. Christ was the first one to administer the Eucharist, at the Last Supper, and Christ was the first one to do all these things. And, and then before he, ascended to heaven, then that's when he turned everything over to Peter and gave Peter the keys of the kingdom. So it's crazy, because it's like, oh my gosh, a successor of Peter, which is an amazing thing. Love you, St. Peter. But even more, oh my gosh, a successor of Christ. This is what Christ has established. This man, all these men, I got to go in the tombs of all the popes. All of these men are successors of Christ. St. Peter being just the greatest of those, the kind of crown on top of all of those men. And so it was just, wow, how great is that? I got to go to the tomb of St. Peter. So to be able to see the tomb of St. Peter and then see our current pope, the first pope and the current pope, it's just like, wow, how great is that? Christ's promise, just being able to physically see Christ's promise and Christ's prophecy being fulfilled every day that I was in the Vatican. I mean, wow, it's just great. I love my faith, and it is just, it's amazing. Yeah, I got to see the tombs of all my favorite popes. the tomb of John Paul II was roped off. But you could see it, like, it was actually not, for being John Paul II's tomb, it was not that crowded. Like, I got to pray in front of JP2's tomb. Amazing. I got to pray in front of the tomb of St. Peter. Also amazing. Pope Paul VI wrote one of my favorite encyclicals, Humanae Vitae, addressing contraceptives, or contraception. I was meshing those two words. Humanae Vitae addresses that whole issue amazingly. So it was really cool to get to see the tomb of Paul VI. It was also really cool to see the tomb of Pius XI. Also wrote another one of my favorite encyclicals, Cassi Connubii, also addressing marriage and family life. So if you are interested in any of those things, read those. So those, I'm going through this really fast because I don't want this video or any of my other videos to be super long, but I got to see all the other, stereotypical sites that people come to see in Rome, like Trevi Fountain and the Colosseum and the Pantheon and all those things. But really, my favorite things were Mass in St. Peter's Basilica, and then on Sunday at noon, the Pope said the Angelus with us. He came out of the little, window and said it with us, and that was amazing. Then the university signed up to be a part of this papal audience, so there was a big chunk of people there, but I mean, for being in front of the Pope, it was actually kind of a small audience, when you think of like the millions of people that come to see the Pope, it was a small audience, in my opinion. He was like, right there on stage, like, he was close enough to where you could like see his face and be like, that's the Pope. So that happened on Ash Wednesday, which was really great way to start out Lent. The Pope, he addressed, well, everybody there in 6 different languages, one of them being English, and it's just cool, it feels very personal when he's speaking to you in your language. And then he blessed all the religious items that we had, and for you, family, they said the blessing extends to your family and those of your loved ones who are sick, so blessings are coming your way, or they already have come your way, actually. And then, man, I just don't even, I'm just so overwhelmed with Rome. I mean, that's kind of how our whole time in Rome was, it was just very much like, we're going here, we're going there, like, we have all these tours, blah, blah, blah. So it was kind of crazy, but it was so blessed. It was such a good trip. So actually, I'm going to cut this video off here. Tune in for Rome Part 2. I'm going to go into the last few days that we had in Rome, and I have a really cool story that I want to share with you guys about me and my big sister Kelsey sneaking away from the school to go do something else outside of Rome. So stay tuned for Part 2. God bless.